is going.
He didn't deny it though.
What the fuck? Dude, what was that, fuck? I am officially making this announcement. Franklin Clinton is going to be in GTA 6. What the fuck?
Matthew, lower that. Don't try to shoot me and then figure out who it is so I can clap him.
My narcissistic mom demanded I give my mansion to my golden child sister because she's pregnant and needs it more than me. I have a sister that has honestly been the golden child to my mother, but not my father for as long as I can remember. My parents divorced when I was a teenager because my mother cheated with an old high school ex-boyfriend and has always been controlling, manipulative, and narcissistic. And sadly, my sister was like a little mini-me. Our mother also seemed to believe she had total authority over me anytime she so much as snapped her fingers. She'd snap them and order me around like a dog. It was demeaning. And my sister always backed her up too. So no surprise I went to live with my dad full-time after our parents split while my sister stayed with mom. The two of them were very alike and both pretty much stopped speaking with my father unless it was about money. Though I'm more like my dad. My father was very business-oriented and started teaching me how to do his line of work as soon as I was 16. I got pretty good at it, and after 12 years of working for my father, I was made a partner in
Some people trying to clap me.
Well, then about 8 months ago, tragedy struck. My father had developed a weak immune system due to being a heavy smoker for much of his life and died at only...
I'll tell you if I need your help.
Oh, I died. You didn't get my... Yeah.
You didn't tell me you died, bro.
After he caught the
I thought you knew.
I met my mother and sister for the first time in years after we had a socially distanced funeral for my father over video call. My father was cremated by his own request.
Because it tells you when I'm dead.
You think I was paying attention to that?
Oh my god.
Buried in a local
I was
cemetery.
paying attention to people that were trying to kill me.
Casket. My sister seemed to grieve, but my mother looked indifferent the entire time. Though I honestly was not surprised. The last time she saw my father, she screamed at him that he owed her more money and then threatened to sue him. To which he just laughed at her. He paid alimony and child support as long as he was legally mandated to and no more than that. He even put $30K toward my sister's college fund. But 10 years after the divorce, he was no longer legally required to send mom money anymore because of the judge's ruling. And she's by no means broke. She works the same job she has had for nearly 3 decades, fully owns the old family home we used to share, and even rents out 2 of the rooms in it to Airbnb regularly. Sometime after the funeral, my dad's will was read. Apparently he'd figured that if his heavy smoking didn't eventually do him in, something else would, and even joked about it in a pre-recorded video. I was pretty much willed nearly all of his assets, from most of his money to his business and home. He left my sister a car 2015 Nissan Altima, and about 10K in cash. My mother only got $1,000 and a few other items that she'd been claiming were rightfully hers since the divorce. Beyond that, I got the rest. My girlfriend now lives with me in the house my father passed down to me. My sister pretty much went from finishing 2 years of community college to living off her boyfriend and only working part-time online for several years. During that time, she got pregnant, but suffered a traumatic miscarriage. I wasn't aware till after the funeral because we were practically no contact and no one else told me. When lockdown hit, her boyfriend's job started downsizing little by little, and eventually he was only able to stay on part-time, which hampered hers and his finances to the point he was finally telling her she needed to look for better employment as well, since he was trying to find a second job.
Me, right?
And then she got pregnant.
Yeah.
She claims she and her boyfriend were careful, but calls it her miracle baby. One evening, I got an unexpected knock at my door. When I answered, I was unpleasantly greeted by both my mother and sister. They both walked right in without even asking and made themselves comfortable in my living room. My girlfriend and I shared a look of confusion, and I asked why they'd come by. My sister was giggling and looking all over, opening doors and seemingly giving herself a tour of my home. My mother had just plopped herself down on my sofa and snapped her fingers while demanding a cold bottled water. My girlfriend got the water for her, and I asked what they were here for. My sister seemed all giddy and just ignored me to continue snooping around my home. And before long, I heard her yell from down the hall, "Mommy, it's perfect." My mother finally spoke up and said, "Well, I think it's time to do your brotherly duty. Now that your father has passed, this house should have gone to me since I was his only spouse. But you can still fix this. You make plenty of money and could just buy a new house. Your sister needs this one so much more since she's the one with a baby on the way. But if you're so determined on staying, you could just stay in one room and cover all of the bills until you decide to move out." I took a deep breath and stated out loud, "That's not effing happening. You don't order me around. Especially not in my own goddamn home."
Yes, sir.
Of money. But like Dad, I'm gonna save it for when I really need it. Not that you care. My mother started snapping her fingers at me like she used to and loudly stated, "Stop. I am your mother.
Stop!
And you will do as I say because I brought you into this world, and I'm the one in charge here.
No, you
and
aren't.
As far as you're concerned, I am God.
No,
that
you
means when
aren't.
I say jump,
no,
you say this house is right behind, and your sister will live here. Consider this your fault. But since I'm gracious, I'll give you 2 weeks to pack your bags and transfer the deed to me."
Who are you, God? You ain't God.
But then I just grabbed my cell phone and started dialing. My mother quickly stood up and yelled, "What are you doing?"
Call the popo.
I'm doing what I should have done as soon as this started. I'm calling the cops to get you out of my house.
Yay!
She started swiping at me and managed to knock my phone out of my hands. She
Assault?
proceeded to try and stomp on it, but I was quick enough to snatch it up before she could. I yelled out,
Jealous.
"If you don't leave, I will force you out myself." My
Push
mother
her out the
was
window.
across the face, and I returned the favor twice as hard
You didn't
backhand.
even get your XP.
So much so I ended up knocking her back down onto the couch.
Oh yeah, that's
She held her
true.
hand over her reddening face in total shock and then yelled, "How dare you!"
How dare you? You went into my
21
house.
people.
I would have the
There's
police
21
come and
people.
remove her by force. My sister came barreling in between us, holding her arms out and saying that I should just do the right thing for once in my life and be a good big brother.
Shut
What
up.
did she think she is?
You were spoiled for most of your life.
Last I checked, I was the one who's had to work for a living since I was a teenager. I had to do all the chores in the house while you just sat on your butt playing video games or talking with your friends all day. You used to steal my hard-earned money just to go out shopping after you spent all of your allowance.
Nuh-uh.
Mooch and thief.
Bro, I got
So I
that
don't owe
cheap
you
plate.
anything. Now both of
Oh, that was good.
If your phone still looks like this, narcissistic mom demanded I get. Now both of you get out before I decide to dial this last number. My sister
Yeah, I'm
started to
gonna go
tear
use
up
the
crying
bathroom.
like a baby and said,
Oh.
"Mommy, make
Never
him
mind.
stop."
There's somebody in
Mommy,
there.
make him
Her and kissing her cheeks
stop.
while giving me a death glare. Then she seemed to think she got.
Matthew, why are you in the match?
You know, if you do call the police, I can just tell them that you hit me. And who knows, I could maybe say to everyone you wanted to do a lot worse to a poor pregnant girl in need.
You know what? I'll punch you if I have to.
I cut her off with a raised hand and said, "Just stop. If you haven't noticed, my girlfriend over there has had her phone out recording almost this whole time.
Yeah, dummy.
We have recorded evidence of you assaulting me first and openly stating you'd lie to the police. I don't
Yeah.
think it's good for your reputation at your job.
I'm
Yeah,
dead to
queen.
If looking at you
Yeah, queen.
like a tactic.
Wait, I'll be back.
She quickly deflated and started dragging my crying sister out by the arm. My sister was somehow acting like a complete toddler and broke loose of our mother's grip to sit down on my porch step and have a tantrum.
Stupid.
I gave my mother a look and said, "Do you see now? This is the result of the spoiled way you raised her." She looked at me again, and then I was treated to a show of my mother trying to drag my sister off of my porch steps. But she latched onto the porch handrails and kept saying, "You promised me."
You promised me. You
I let out a
promised.
cackle and told them both from the door to never come back. My mother flipped me the bird and then went back to trying to drag my sister off the porch. It took a few minutes, but she finally got my sister to get up and leave with her by saying I am a cruel, heartless bastard who will go to hell for this. I laughed some more and said that there's also a special place in hell for liars and narcissists who try to manipulate others to get their way. My mother clenched her fists and was about to say more when I just held up my smartphone again with it recording and said, "The clock is ticking, Mom. Get off my property." My mother then walked my sister to the car, gave me one last snooty look and drove off. I thought that was the end of it, but letting things go was never something my mother was good at.
Where's the
narcissistic
part
mom-
2?
My girlfriend became a pro-Trump Christian, so I broke up with her. I know I did the right thing by leaving, but I'm still feeling so blindsided and heartbroken by the way everything panned out.
Wait, there's no part 2.
My vegan stepdaughter
You
blasted me
son
on
of
Instagram.
a...
My vegan stepdaughter blasted me on Instagram for being abusive and unaliving animals, so I gave her an ultimatum which made her cry. My stepdaughter...
You know, I'm gonna watch this with Jane. Wait, Jane, you're here? Oh, Jadon! Jadon! I see you switching your skins. Don't think I'm blind.
Matthew,
What?
I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick.
Uh-huh.
I was just waiting for you to get out the bathroom.
Mm. Oh, it's boiling hot. I wish I had a credit card and bought myself 1,277 pounds. Again, kid. Farting my knees. Well, I can see that, you know. Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider. Oh, wait, huh? Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider. Infernal Chain. Soulfire Chains. Ghost Glider. Skullfire. Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer.
Alright, I'm back.
Okay, now listen to this.
My vegan stepdaughter blasted me on Instagram for being abusive and unaliving animals, so I gave her an ultimatum which made her cry. My stepdaughter became vegan about 3 months ago, and my wife and I supported
Says who?
her thoroughly as I saw no problem with it. However, it quickly became clear that being vegan gave my stepdaughter a nasty superiority complex. She went from a person who indulged in steak and chicken to someone who condemns all meat eaters and calls them murderers.
Shut up, non-vegan teacher.
That she's vegan. It's gotten to the point where I genuinely believe that she does not care for the cause, but rather lives vegan in order to have the moral high ground. She also believes that because she is vegan, she is unable to act in a rude and harmful manner. If she ever does anything bad, she will pull the vegan card and claim it's impossible for her to be an evil person capable of doing such things because she doesn't unalive animals.
Who is this again?
Just a month ago, she verbally abused a poorer boy in school who could only afford to bring in canned meat for lunch. She called him a filthy animal K-Yer, and told him he needs to work harder in life to afford cruelty-free food.
Damn.
I was furious, of course, and when I scolded her for this, she genuinely
sucks for that kid. He has to eat kid. He has to eat kid food.
And is also quite sick of my stepdaughter's righteous veganism. My stepdaughter and I have had conflicts in the past 3 months regarding veganism and her attempts to turn me and my wife vegan. These ranged from her not taking no.
Oh wait, this is a man that we're talking about? I thought this was a girl.
Extreme is what happened just a few hours ago. My wife had recently got a huge promotion at work, which she had been working super hard, and I was extremely thankful. My wife loves my cooking as I used to be a chef, and I think she likes that.
Can you lend me a million?
It's a long time, but man, is it worth it. So instead of going out to celebrate her promotion, I figured I would use the day my stepdaughter was over at her friend's to make this dish for my wife and we could celebrate inside the house.
Yay!
Go all out, with the chicken made to perfection, as well as countless homemade sides as well as dessert. This plan of mine went into action 2 days before I planned to celebrate with my wife, and I started marinating my chicken as well as going shopping to buy all the ingredients for the sides and dessert. The day went with—
I have a protection. The daughter throws away the food. That's my prediction.
My prediction is that they ruined the dinner.
Without a hitch, and my chicken was fully marinated this morning, which was the morning of the celebration. My stepdaughter was already out of the house as she was planning on leaving before I woke up. Can you imagine the shock on my face when I looked inside the fridge to see the chicken missing?
I told you! She did something! She threw that chicken away! I told you, Jaden.
Wow.
I was on. We're still going
I
on.
retraced my steps and came to the conclusion that I did indeed put it in the fridge. Nonetheless, I scoured the kitchen hoping for the chicken to turn up, but it never did. In a last-ditch effort, I called my stepdaughter asking if maybe she had seen it. Well, not only had she seen it, she had found it unbearable to be around the smell of it and decided to take it outside and throw it in the garbage. I asked her if she knew that this was for her mother's celebration, and she said yes, and stated we should look at getting vegan chicken and using that to celebrate instead. I snapped at her and told her I am done with her entitlement, that she is a spoiled and manipulative girl who has no idea how the world works, and when she comes home her mother and I are going to have a serious talk with her as she has gone way too far. I then went outside and was very disappointed to find the chicken in the
let's play
garbage,
this.
just like she said I would. Not 30 minutes later, my wife—
I told you she was going to put it in the garbage.
Alright. Wait. We're doing this?
Yeah. You gotta put it on private, since you're the party leader. You're the party leader.
I know, but why private?
So, we don't have to have the inconvenience of anyone else.
That's true. I feel like I have to take a poop.
Wife came downstairs, giving me her phone and telling me to look. It was a post on my daughter's Instagram story, claiming that her stepfather, also known as me, is verbally abusive and an animal K-Yer who does not care about anything but his own—
Shut up! Before I throw you in a dumpster!
Down. My stepdaughter was calling me an abuser when she ruined my—
An abuser? Did I ever hit you? No, I killed the chicken and I threw it on the grill and I started—
No, it says it ends today.
What?
It says that tournament ends today.
It said it was going to end on the 15th.
My wife asked me what this was about, and I explained to her what her daughter had done. My wife cried in response.
No, that's when it begins.
I had a long talk with my wife about what to do, and we boiled it down to giving my stepdaughter an ultimatum. I proceeded to call my stepdaughter a few minutes later to tell her that what she did with the post was disgusting, dehumanizing, jeopardizing my entire life, and so many more things. I told her that she has 2 options.
Cry about it.
These were options her mother agrees on. She can either take the post down, severely apologize directly to me in the post, and explain in full length why she made the post about me while leaving no details.
Shut up,
or she can send
Kyle.
to her father's who owns a ranch, and there she can learn all about how much people really care about veganism. She cried in response and told us we can't do this, but
Yes,
I told her
we
that our word was
can.
final. We gave her 3 hours to make up her mind. It's been 2 and she is not—
I love you, oogly boogly.
My vegan stepdaughter blasted me on Instagram for being abusive and unaliving
Lagging.
animals, so I gave her an ultimatum which made her cry.
Oh no way.
My stepdaughter became vegan about 3 months
Why
ago,
are the
and I
graphics so
supported her
good in
decision
this
thoroughly as
game?
I saw no problem with it. However, it quickly became clear that being vegan gave my stepdaughter a nasty—
My substance addict uncle blew smoke in my baby brother's face on his first day back from the hospital,
Ooh.
and my dad went feral. So my uncle is a substance addict, but he stays away from the hardcore stuff. Grass and shrooms are his go-tos, and the decades of
I thought I was holding the button down.
where it's hard to have a normal conversation with him. Most of the
Welcome.
talks with him turn into
No, it
political
wasn't.
rants, or him talking about how he and the chair that he is sitting on are actually the same thing.
What? I'm pushing down the button!
Spent 45 minutes straight trying to convince my mother that she is the avocado that she was eating at the time. He smokes daily, and I genuinely have never seen him sober. He is always either baked, cross-faded, or on mushrooms. He takes mushrooms about once a week and has done so for the better part of the last decade. It's astonishing to me how the man is not dead yet. I remember being 6 years old when I was left alone with my uncle for the first time, and he offered me a J. We were in the back garden, with my parents upstairs. They came back a few minutes later to find me trying to inhale the J while coughing my lungs out. That was the first time I ever got baked, and I have not touched it in the 10 years since then. My parents have also never left my uncle alone with me ever again. My uncle is a relatively calm person, with truly no ill will in his body. He is always baked, and so he is always mellow. I have never really seen him get angry,
Where are
and when
you,
people get angry with
Jaden?
him, he usually laughs and tells them to chill out. I remember only seeing him genuinely being infuriated once, and that was when my dad barred my uncle from smoking grass in our back garden. My uncle protested heavily, but my dad put his foot down. My uncle still smoked a J in our back garden the next time he came over. He just did it in secret. He still comes by sometimes, as he is actually a great uncle. Despite being under the influence every second of the day, he has never forgotten a birthday, a special occasion, or anything. His wife left him a while ago, so I suppose we are the only family he has left. I do feel bad for him when I think about his...
Cry about it.
As you can assume, my parents are not the biggest fans of my uncle. He is my mother's brother, and although she can tolerate him, my father cannot stand him. He has hated him since the day he let me smoke a J. Although he has never been violent with my uncle, he is very cautious of letting younger family members around him, such as infant toddlers.
I'm downstairs in the
He
house.
has a very good reason to do so, and I cannot blame him.
Uh-huh.
The first time he got violent with my uncle resulted in my uncle getting sent to the hospital, and this incident occurred just 2 days ago. My mother gave birth to my baby brother.
No, you're not.
The very first day my
Oh,
baby brother came home
shoot.
from the hospital, we were overjoyed. I was holding him and looking into his blue and beautiful eyes, thinking how lucky I am to have a baby brother.
My vegan stepdaughter.
My substance addict.
My childish husband will only eat kitty food, and it is ruining our relationship.
Huh?
My husband will only eat chicken nuggets, grilled cheese, and SpaghettiOs. That's it. When we go over to friends' places, he'll actually bring some SpaghettiOs to heat up in their microwave instead of eating anything else, even if our friends
Bruh.
cooked a wonderful meal.
That's not
If we
healthy.
go out somewhere to eat, he will only order chicken nuggets off the kids' menu. If they don't have them, he just won't eat. If I try to cook literally anything except one of the
Frick!
three foods, he will claim he's
I
allergic
know,
to
we
some
said
random
so.
ingredient instead of just outright saying he doesn't want to eat it. He'll then
I'm
try to guilt me
going
for
to
forgetting his
rip
allergy.
you piece to
Spoiler, we've
piece.
been to the doctor and he's not allergic to anything. My husband just turned 36 this month. His food habits were sort of acceptable when we were both in college and eating like trash, but now I'm genuinely worried about his health. I also find myself avoiding any sort of dining situations with our friends, which is so much harder than it sounds. I've tried talking to him about his eating habits and he just brushes me off. Since I don't cook his meals, he doesn't think I have the right to dictate what he can and can't eat.
Jesus!
I'm his wife, but I just want my husband, the man I love,
I'm in a
to be
different
healthy.
house.
Edit. I confronted him when he came home.
But
I
if
brought
there's
up
only
Arthur,
2
which he
houses
seemed
here and
very
I know
open
what
to.
house you're in.
He seemed sort of relieved that it's a fairly common disorder.
Good, then go to
He
it.
explained that he was extremely embarrassed and defensive when I had tried bringing the issue up with him before. When I explained how much it hurt when he shut me down, he seemed genuinely surprised. He had no idea this issue was so important to me. I'll admit, I did cry a bit as I told him how worried I am about him eating himself into an early grave. His foods are not healthy, and by the end of our conversation, we both agreed to work together to overcome this. We'll be going to couples therapy
Matthew, I'm in the
this
same
weekend at
house
a
that
local
you
clinic.
killed me.
From there, we'll look into seeing
You
a
are,
dietitian and a
huh?
specialized counselor for his eating disorder. However, the worst was yet to come. I called his mother while
Oh,
he was at work.
wow.
I asked her about his
I
eating habits as a
jumped
kid,
you.
if there were any foods he sort of liked or anything he was really adverse to. I like the idea of making weekly meal prep together, so there's no surprises and we can collaborate on slowly introducing new foods. I was hoping this
Oh,
conversation
wow,
would give me a
sorry.
good starting point when I talk with him. His mother is a very sweet woman and told me all the foods he even sort of would eat, and everything he refused to. But she offhand mentioned that he has sensory processing issues due to his autism. I asked her to elaborate and she
Huh?
did. It turns out he was diagnosed with autism as a kid. He even went to an after-school physical therapist for many years to deal with sensory issues. He never told me any of this. When I spoke with him, I didn't know how to bring it up, so I just didn't. I'm so worried
Now we
he'll
both
deny
have the
it,
same
or he'll get angry
gun,
with me for
Jaden.
speaking to his mother behind his back, since he obviously doesn't want me to know. I want to stress that
Why
I
is
never
he
brought up
putting me in the
autism
same
with his
spot?
mother. She mentioned it all on her own. I feel lied to and manipulated. I don't know how to bring it up with him.
Ah!
Right now, I'm just starting to process it. I'm angry that he never told me. His food issues are one thing, but not telling me about his autism is another. It's more and more obvious that the
So
man I
small.
married isn't who I think he is and has been lying to me for years. My childish husband will only eat kitty food and it is ruining our relationship. My husband will
Where
only
you
eat chicken
go,
nuggets,
huh?
grilled cheese, and SpaghettiOs. That's
She's
it.
disrespectful.
When we
You
go
know
over
that,
to
right?
friends' place, what is the
Huh?
solution to a problem that actually
She's
works?
being disrespectful
Nurses
to her
here
own
will recognize
husband.
this one.
Hmm.
Once I was dealing with an
She's saying she
extremely
don't like men
agitated
with
and fearful
autism.
Alzheimer's patient who had been sundowning since 3 p.m. Sundowning is an occurrence in some Alzheimer's patients where their mental function
I'm
gets
in the
worse
other
and worse
house.
as the day goes on / once it
You
starts
are,
to
huh?
get dark. Anywho, this sweet old lady was having an absolute fit. All through my shift, night shift yay, I was running in and out of her room. The bed alarm kept going off. She was so confused, afraid. I desperately wanted her to go to sleep. Mind you, I had 7 other patients. I finally walk her out to the nurse's station and plop her down in a seat next to me while I do my charting. She is yelling at me and throwing things. I've had it at this point and I'm running out of ideas.
Excuse
I finally
me?
look at her and say, how will I ever finish with the wash? My husband will be so mad when he gets home. Would you help me finish? She looks me right in the eye, clear as day, and says, damn it, sister, don't you ever learn? Give me that laundry, haha. So I grab a stack of folded towels and mess them up real quick and plop them in front of her. She folded all of them. I would say, oh, look at that. She turned around and I would mess the towels up again. This went on a few times until this sweet lady just passed out, exhausted from being so worked up earlier, and maybe from all the towel folding. I slowly push her in the desk chair down the hall and gently get her back into bed. She started to wake up and I leaned down and whispered, all the wash is done. You have nothing else to worry about. She slept throughout the night. We were both happy.
Where
I have the grandma
are
whisperer.
you?
What is the dumbest solution to a problem that actually works? Nurses here will recognize this one. Once I was dealing with an extremely agitated and fearful Alzheimer's patient who had been sundowning since 3 p.m. Some criminal lawyers, who's the craziest client you've ever worked with? I'm a lawyer. A defense attorney to be more specific. I defend criminals and innocent people alike. Most of the criminals I defend aren't James Bond villains or George Clooney from the Ocean's movies. Most criminals I defend are stupid.
What the hell?
Otherwise, they wouldn't need a lawyer because they wouldn't get caught. Most of the time I can
Get
tell
this
whether or
straight.
not my client committed the crime. Sometimes, they even...
Bro, huh? You aren't taking damage.
From a mother asking me to represent her son.
Yes, I did.
She gave
I
me
was
a
on
rundown on the
88.
charges and what she knew. I told her I could take the case. When I first met the son, I knew immediately that he was guilty. I can't give you the details of the case, but all that matters was that this guy was not the sharpest tool in the shed. He had been pretty much caught red-handed carrying out his offense. The prosecution wanted to give him 48 months. I negotiated them down to 36.
What gun did you have?
It was the best
same
he was
one as
going to
you?
get, seeing as though they caught him in high-definition security footage. He refused to take the deal. He must have been watching Suits every day because he would quote legal documents that had no relevance to his case in an attempt to justify going to trial. He thought this was goodwill hunting.
Whoa.
This guy barely graduated high school and had the literacy of an
lagged.
8th grader. Every meeting I had with him would end with me pleading with him to take the deal. He would refuse and say he had to go see his girlfriend. His favorite line was, we have to fight it. We didn't have to do anything. After a couple meetings,
What's this
one
kid
year,
on
I
about?
decided to give up trying to talk sense into him. We went to trial. I'm a good lawyer, but I'm not Jesus. I'm not in the business of miracles. The jury found my guy guilty on all accounts. No surprise there. The surprise would come during the sentencing. When he was found guilty, my guy had given me the meanest mug of all time. I think he felt betrayed by me somehow, even though I had told this idiot to take the deal. On sentencing day, his usual support group was there. His mom, his brother and his sister, his girlfriend, and his aunt had all been there for the trial. But there were 3 new guys I hadn't seen before. I had seen this before. Guys would call some friends to try to intimidate the judge to get a lighter sentence, I guess. Stupid. I didn't think anything of it. It was business as usual in the courtroom until I heard commotion coming from the hallway outside. It sounded like muffled screaming and it was negligible at first. As it got louder, the judge had to stop mid-sentence and ask the bailiff to investigate what was going on. The bailiff didn't lift a foot before the doors to the courtroom swung
Excuse
open
me?
and a woman who looked like she had just woken up from a 15-year nap stormed in. Criminal lawyers, who's the craziest client you've ever worked with? Her hair was all over the place.
Oh, part 2.
Female Snoop Dogg if he had been addicted to substances other than Mary Jane. I thought she was just a tweaker that just found herself in the wrong place. I figured she would just get escorted out with no incident until she grabbed my client's girlfriend by the head and started beating her in front of the family.
Huh?
Now I didn't know what to think. The girl was
What
wearing
the
a
hell?
Cookie Monster t-shirt and brutalizing the girlfriend. There was no longer any order in this courtroom. The bailiff went to break up the fight. She was a 5-foot black woman that was built like the Red
Where
Angry
are you?
Birds character. It didn't
Where are
matter.
you?
As soon as she got over there, she
I'm
whipped out her
hiding.
taser and hit the Cookie Monster woman with it. Cookie Monster got stiff as a board and fell to the ground. The bailiff stood over her and got snooker punched by my client's
Sprayer.
girlfriend. The girlfriend was so delirious at that point that she just
I
started
don't like
fighting the
Sprayer.
first body she saw in front of her. She got the bailiff across the head. Before long, they were engaged in a demented battle. I was watching, in awe, like
in the
everyone
other
else in the
house.
courtroom. All of a sudden, I was clobbered with a right hook that came out of nowhere. Apparently, my client's boys were there to send me a message, too. They used the distraction caused by Mrs. Cookie Monster to sucker punch me and the other lawyer. One of the guys went for the prosecutor, and the other went after the judge. The prosecution must have taken self-defense classes because when I looked over there, she had this guy in some sort of arm lock that looked excruciating. The other guy knocked the judge out pretty easily and went to grab my client. They ran out with the guy still in handcuffs and tried to make their escape. The bailiff was still engaged in a battle against the tweaker and my client's girlfriend, who had seemingly teamed up against the law. As soon as the guys opened the door, they were tackled by a squad of cops. The courtroom was in shambles. It was pure chaos. In my 20 years of practice, I had never seen anything like this. The judge ended up being fine. It turned out the Cookie Monster woman was my client's other girlfriend that he had been seeing without telling her about his main girl.
Yeah?
Nearly everyone involved with the siege of the courtroom was arrested. I got to take off for a while.
That's in here for Liana has her. Don't give me that. I don't want it. I don't want it. You have your own.
Her hair was all over. She looked like a female Snoop Dogg if he had been addicted to substances other than Mary Jane. What is the most messed up thing your parents have done to you? My mom kicked me out 2 years ago in favor of her boyfriend who bullied me in high school. My dad passed away when I was only 1. It's been me and my mom ever
only
since.
one. That's crazy.
As you can guess, my mom and I were very close. When I was a sophomore in high school, my mom got a part-time job as a gym teacher at my school.
Whoa.
I supported her when she asked if I would be comfortable with it. It was extremely uncomfortable when guys would make comments on my mom's appearance. It also gave ammo to Brad, who bullied me in high school. He would make inappropriate comments about her towards me. Brad was a year ahead of me, so I thought I was finally rid of him after he graduated. I was wrong. When I became a senior,
I see you in the window.
initially, I was happy for her because I wanted her to find someone nice.
Get out.
However, it came to a point where we barely got any time together. To be frank, I thought she was avoiding me. This was because whenever I tried to make plans with her, she had already made plans before. I sort of kept it to myself because I didn't want to come off needy. I didn't complain when she missed my birthday because she was out all night. When she tried to apologize the next day, I told her it was okay. After 6 months of this behavior, I decided to take action. I asked my mom if we could have dinner together, just the two of us. She said she was too busy. I got fed up and told her to stop ignoring me. She said that she wasn't ignoring me, but that she had a life to live. That really hurt me a lot. Out of anger, I started to ignore her for a few days. After those days passed, she finally apologized to me. However, she said she needed to talk to me about something important. She wanted to introduce me to her boyfriend at dinner. She didn't sound excited about it. It sounds like she almost dreaded it. When the door rang, my mom opened it up and introduced the guy to me. I was in extreme shock. It was Brad. I screamed at my mom, asking her what he was doing here. Brad came forward to acknowledge that this situation was uncomfortable, but he's sorry for how he treated me in school and that he really cares about my mom.
That's a
Mom
lie.
asked us to sit and let her explain how this all happened. I remember screaming, "I don't give a damn about your explanation. You tossed me aside for this piece of crap. You're a pathetic excuse of a mother." My mom then defended him and said, "Don't you dare call him that." She then said she tried
Bro,
to
what?
accommodate everyone in this tough situation by keeping the relationship away from me. She then said, "Like it or not, Brad is here to stay. If you don't like it, you're more than welcome to leave." I put my bags right there and then. I called my grandma and told her about the whole situation. She drove to my house and confronted my mom. After a shouting match between them, I left with my grandma. My mom tried calling me several weeks after, but I blocked her. She tried to visit me, but I called the cops on her. After that, she sort of gave up. It had been
Good.
2 years since I'd heard from my mom. Then I got a call from her yesterday. She said it's urgent and we needed to meet up. I didn't know if I should go, but curiosity got the best of me. There was also a burning desire to unload on her. I finally texted back my mom this morning asking where we should meet. She said we could meet for lunch at the restaurant at 12
Did
p.m.
you try to
and have
shoot me?
class today, so I was good to go. When I arrived at the restaurant, I heard some woman scream my name. It was my mom, who I haven't seen for 2 years. She asked how I was and said she would hug me, but she knew I would reject it. Her voice was shaking when she asked me to follow her to her table. Unsurprisingly, Brad was sitting there. He didn't even look me in the eye as we sat down. He just nodded his head as if to simply acknowledge my arrival. As my mom sat down, she started shooting out multiple questions. "What you been up to?"
You son of a nutcracker.
I got annoyed and told her, "Stop wasting my time with these questions. What do you want from me?" She responded, "Well, before we tell you, can we explain how all of this happened?" I said, "Sure. What is the most messed up thing your parents have done to you?" She explained that they never interacted with each other when Brad was in school. Brad only knew about her because his friends would take
Oh my
pictures
god.
when I started and share them with everyone. It was Brad.
I died.
She didn't recognize
Oh
him.
wow.
So he told her he went to the high school she works at
It
and
takes so
graduated
long to
recently.
start.
My mom was lonely and jokingly told him she wouldn't tell anyone that he wasn't 21 as long as he hung out with her. They exchanged numbers and made a promise to hang out with each other. She said she knew that I wouldn't be comfortable with her seeing a peer of mine. So she kept it a secret and convinced herself it was going to be a short and
Excuse me?
casual relationship. The relationship got serious. When she
Why
was
you
hanging
hacking?
out at his house,
I don't
he
like
told her it
hackers.
wasn't a good idea.
That's why you don't like Alex.
Over the age gap relationship. He was forced to come clean about the relationship I had with him in high school. That's when my mom started tearing up and her voice was shaking. She said she was in shock about what she had done. She couldn't sleep at night because of the guilt. She couldn't even look at me without feeling immense guilt. She had him blocked on her
Are
phone.
you trying to shoot
After a
me?
week, he sent her a message
Yeah.
on Facebook to at least meet him once. She obliged.
You
He showed up
missed.
with roses and begged for forgiveness. He even said he'll apologize to me in person and that he's a changed person. She took him back. The next was the day she invited him to dinner. My mom burst into tears and begged me to forgive her for hurting me. She then said these 2 years have been painful for her.
Miss.
Finally, Brad spoke and admitted she misses you like crazy dude. She still needs you in her life. My mom then said, I am sorry for being an awful mother. We want to make it up to you. We're willing to go to and we want you to come with us. We will foot the
Made
I
it.
hate this
and
gun.
everything else. You won't have to work at all. You'll have a permanent place in our home. I don't know what the hell came to me, but I started laughing.
Oh my
Ridiculous proposition. Now, this part
It's
is
not
what makes me
fair.
a monster. This is what I really came there
god. You
for.
almost killed
After I
me.
calmed down,
You
this is what I said to
you
her.
almost killed me,
Mom,
buddy.
you must be a delusional piece of crap if you think I'll ever forgive you.
This gun takes
You
so
are
long
dead
to
to me
start.
for
I
good.
hate it.
The only acknowledgement you'll get from me is me pissing on your grave when you pass away.
Damn,
Then
that
she was
sucks.
hysterically crying.
Oh.
I got up from the table and left the restaurant. Only a minute after walking to the parking lot, I hear my mom screaming at Brad to stop following me. I really wanted this confrontation. The moment he grabbed my shirt, I turned around and sucker punched him in the face. He dropped on the road with his mouth bleeding. My mom came to physically restrain him from hurting me until he calmed down. I told him, this is what I think about you.
Ow,
It's been 4 hours. I know deep down
Get
I
out
should
of
be
here.
ashamed of myself, but I feel amazing inside. I don't
why you spawned right in front of me?
It feels like I took my power back. So, I
Get
went
out.
over to Brad's mom's place and got together with his dad. She
Oh.
explained that they never interacted with each other when Brad was in school.
Is this a woman or a man?
Because my wife needed intimacy and we masturbated together before effing. Things
Huh?
haven't been great between us.
Hold
My
on.
wife needed intimacy and we masturbated together before effing. Things haven't been great between us for a few months and we haven't had intimacy at that time. I worked from home and I was in my office when my wife came in. She had been laying out by the pool and was wearing a bikini with her skin glistening from sweat and oil. Do you have any CNDMS? She asked. I don't think so. Why? My heart immediately began beating faster. I'm off my birth control and I've been incredibly a tree NY all day. I've tried using toys and nothing is working. Just now outside the wind on my skin was driving me crazy. I need you to have intimacy with me. You have to use a CNDM. Let me check, I said and ran to look. She flopped down on the couch and waited. Unable to find any, I returned. Listen, there's a pharmacy right down the street. I'll run out and get some and be right back. She seemed a little annoyed, or maybe disappointed, but agreed. I rushed out of the house, to the store, and back. Thinking she was still in my office, I went there first, but it was empty. I then crossed the house to our room. The door was open and she was on her knees on the floor, leaning back with her bikini bottoms pulled down, and a toy between her legs. She didn't start masturbating until several years into our relationship and was too embarrassed to ever let me see, so this was literally one of my fantasies come true. I helped her up onto the bed and we started removing her swimsuit. I then knelt down and began to beat her out. My wife needed intimacy and we masturbated together before effing. Things haven't been great between us for a few months and we haven't had intimacy at that
You
time.
hear the story?
I worked from home and I was in my office when my wife came in. She had been laying out by the pool and was wearing a bikini.
I got a minigun!
Telling me I have a level 9 gat, and due to this,
Oh, it's the level 9 gas story,
I'm a
Jaden!
37-year-old woman, and I know what you're thinking when you hear that my 14-year-old son showers with
Remember?
What the flip right? Well, I have a good reason for this. Both me and him share our bathroom and
Excuse
bedroom.
me?
At first, I was hesitant to admit this online.
Only
because of the
took 3
judgmental stares
bullets.
and
We
comments
already
I
listened to you, though.
accidentally gave my best friend's brother a handjob in the shower, but it was an accident that I still counted.
How's that an accident, bro?
My best friend's place. He's 17, and we were hanging out. Around dinner time, we decided to get food from this nice KFC restaurant in our area, but they don't deliver, so my friend said she'll pick it up. Just before she was about to leave, her brother came home. Let's call him Tyrone. My friend
Tyrone.
went to get our food and Tyrone went into the bathroom where I heard the water in the shower starting to run. I just got someone hand me my shampoo. I was the only one in the house, so I didn't think of it and slowly opened the door and told him it was me. I tried to just look at the corner of the room where he oddly had a wheelchair, but I found his shampoo quickly. I said, I found it, and wanted to put it in his hand that was reaching out of the shower. When I put it in his hand, I felt his wet fingers on my hand for a second, and it really turned me on. So much that I dropped the shampoo. I quickly reached to grab it, but instead grabbed something long and hard.
Whoa.
Felt like a snake. He instantly screamed, holy moly,
Matthew, what the hell are you
that's
watching?
9,000. I had no idea what was going on.
Oh no.
I accidentally gave my best friend's brother a handjob in the shower, but it was an accident that I still counted. A few months ago, I was at his place. He was 17, and we were hanging out. Around dinner time, we decided to go to this nice KFC restaurant in the area, but they don't deliver, so my friend said she'll pick it up. Just before she was about to leave, her brother came home. Let's call him Tyrone. So my friend went to get our food, and Tyrone went into the bathroom where
Good job, Tyrone.
ready to run. I just got someone handing my
Something hard.
think of it and slowly opened the door and told him it
Didn't show yourself.
I tried to just look at the corner of the room where he oddly had a wheelchair, but I found his shampoo.
We don't care about the wheelchair
I
part.
found it and wanted to put it in his hand that was reaching out of the shower. When I put it in his hand, I felt his wet fingers on my hand for a second. Turned me on, so much that I dropped the shampoo. I quickly reached to grab it, but instead grabbed something long and hard. It kind of
You
felt
better
like a
say
snake.
that, Jen.
He instantly screamed. Holy moly, you got the gripper 9000.
What?
I had no idea what was going to happen. I started moving up and down.
What
I
the hell
really
did I
enjoyed
just
it.
hear?
Throughout the whole time, I had my eyes
What the hell is
closed,
a gripper
so my
9000?
imagination was in shock. After a while, I felt something shoot on my forearm. He thanked me, and before I left, I asked him what the wheelchair was for. He
excuse me.
chuckled and said, once you go black, you'll need a wheelchair. I accidentally gave my best friend's brother a hand job in the shower.
What just happened?
All over my face.
Turn this off.
My son's biggest passion is soccer, and I always used to watch his games and take him to practice and would proudly watch him. I used to take him and his friend home 3 to 4 days a week because they were living close, and it was his best friend that didn't have that much support from his parents, and I felt bad for it. It was match day, and they were having a local league. In the first half, my son scored 2 goals, so it was 2-0. Second
You
half
got the
starts,
Clipper
and the other
9000?
team scored 3 goals. Overtime, the match
No, that's crazy, bro.
and it was 3-2. My son's friend scored an equalizer at 3-3, and then his friend scored 2 goals because they had 6 minutes of extra time, leading to winning the local cup, and everyone was so happy, and we celebrated singing. I got out of the chair and jumped. At this point, I was so happy and told them that I was taking them home so we can celebrate. Son's best friend asked that because they are the winners, they both want a reward because they put in so much effort, and he said that because they won, he wants to see my cherries.
Huh?
Obviously, I flashed him, and my son
What's up,
also
Matthew?
saw it, and they started laughing and being all excited. I was so happy, jumping up and down.
Matthew, I see you
joy.
running.
It's a core memory that I'll keep forever. I'm proud to be a mother. My son nut all over
Just
my
kidding.
face. My son's biggest passion is soccer, and I always used to watch his games and take him to practice and would
What is wrong with these stories,
My
bro?
hypocrite daughter wanted her
love seeing
stepdad
cum
to
all
walk
over
her
his
down the aisle
face.
instead
What?
but she took it back real quick when I refused to pay for the wedding.
Oh!
Well, her mother cheated on me and married the man she cheated with. I hated my ex-wife with a passion at
We
that
already
time
watched
and wanted
this.
to get as far as away from her, but I didn't.
Or at least
I wanted my daughter to grow up in a normal environment,
Whoa.
not surrounded by hate everywhere. So I split custody with my ex-wife and made sure that our daughter's mental health wouldn't be affected.
You thought?
Cheating as a way to protect her. My ex's new husband quickly became her stepdad, and I didn't have a problem with it. Whenever my daughter would come back after spending time at their house, I would just be happy that she had fun. She would tell me how fun her new stepdad was and that she loved him, which was cute in my opinion. I still had to work a lot of hours, but I made sure to spend proper time with her. For her 17th birthday, I chipped in with her mom and got her a new car. I do make more money than she and her husband, so I paid more than her, but it wasn't a big deal. She absolutely loved it and thanked her for it.
I think you missed.
I thought it was a bit weird that she didn't offer me a thank you even though we had both paid for it, but I didn't dwell on it. After she turned 18, she began
Bro,
at
what?
her mom's house. But I was confident in the
One more
way
away
I had
from you.
raised her and trusted her to make her own adult decisions. As a result, she got a lot of independence from my side and basically did what she wanted. I didn't maintain friendly contact with her mom outside of what my daughter was doing, so I don't know how she spent her time there.
Jesus
But little did I
Christ.
know, I was allowing my ex-wife to steal my daughter away. Anyway, I helped her get into the best college in our city and fully paid her tuition so she wouldn't have to get a job. That way, she could focus on her academics or whatever it was that she wanted to do in life.
Now you're 2 away from me,
It wasn't
buddy.
a lack of gratitude from her side, but I never asked for a thanks.
Talking. How
I
about you
did
come
what
to the
I
other
did because
house?
I wanted to.
Huh?
She is 26 now.
How about you come to the
living in
other
her own
house?
and was just
Okay.
proposed to by the love of her life whom she luckily met in college. I was so happy for her and called her to congratulate her. During that call, I also offered to pay for her wedding because it was going to be her special day. I knew her now fiancé was a good man and would take good care of her. So I wanted to give her away in style. She was very excited to hear that and said that I just made her even more happy. She began planning a destination wedding in Italy with a large budget that I had provided. But then, a couple days later, she called me to tell me the worst news of my life. My hypocrite daughter wanted her stepdad to walk her down the aisle instead of me.
Bruh.
But she took it back real quick when I refused to pay for the wedding. When my daughter was 12, her mother cheated on me and married the man she cheated with. I hated my
son nut all over.
my hypocrite. She wanted her stepdad to
I
walk her
already
down
got-
the aisle instead of me. I obviously didn't agree to it and asked her why. I loved her a lot and wanted to do this for her, and she had absolutely no reason to walk with another man. But she began telling me that it's not a big deal, and that it's just something he wants to do. I said that I also want to do it, and that I also have the right to do it since she began screaming at me, telling me to calm down even though I didn't even raise my voice. She said that
Calm down.
her stepdad, and that I didn't hear anything after that because my mind had shut down. I just put the phone down and desperately tried to hold my tears back. I had no idea how she would do this. I gave her everything and made sure she was happy and never neglected. Heck, I even kept in contact with the woman who broke my heart. I got texts from my ex-wife calling me a horrible person, and that I was ruining my daughter's wedding by making unreasonable demands.
Fuck
I
you!
screenshotted it and sent it to my daughter, thinking that she would apologize for what her mother had said. But to my shock, she agreed with that statement. And that
Fuck you! I gave you all I had!
me asking to be her dad was an unreasonable demand. After a few more hours of crying, my eyes had really opened and I had come to a decision. I decided that I would no longer be paying for the wedding. I knew that they would not be able to afford a destination wedding without my support, but I didn't care. My daughter didn't seem to want me there at all, so why would I pay for something that I can't even attend? But after I sent that text, my phone began blowing up. My ex was suddenly very apologetic about her behavior. My daughter began saying she didn't mean what she said, and that it was all a joke. She said that of course I can walk her down the
I'm
aisle.
lagging, that's
if I agree
unfair.
to still pay. However, I just texted her this. Don't worry.
I was
don't
actually
wanna buy
lagging
your
and
love with money.
your
I will leave you
voice
alone
chat
just like you
thingy
wanted.
kept cutting
That
out.
was the last message I sent to her, and a few weeks passed by. Of course, she and her mother kept texting me, saying that I am a horrible person for backing out of paying
You're
like that.
horrible.
Some texts made me laugh though, so I never blocked them. They even got other family members and friends to text me and ask me to take back my words, but I ignored everyone. And today, I finally replied to
Get
my
out.
texts. I uploaded
A suppressed pistol, that's wasn't here before.
autograph with the caption, "Oops, all the wedding budget was blown on this baby.
Nah!
Not invited anymore." She wanted her stepdad to walk her down the aisle instead of me. I obviously didn't agree to it and asked her why. I loved her a lot and wanted to do this for her, and she had absolutely no reason to walk with another man. But she began telling me that it's not a big deal. And that
She did it with her stepdaddy!
I said that I also want to do it, and that I also...
Daddy, no!
Married couples, what beautiful moment made you think, I'm glad I married you. I told my husband
What?
about my son's girlfriend.
I'm a
That's
daddy!
actually unfair because I can't
I
shoot
have
you,
3
but you can
sons.
shoot me.
All of my sons are very successful young men and arm their own.
You know what?
My
I'm gonna
oldest
be in
and
this
youngest were
area,
always
you
very
be in that
outgoing
area,
and
okay?
animals in high school. Focus on his grades and he walking. He moved out the youngest into his
You
own
took the
home.
A
rules!
flashlight
Okay.
pistol, are you
My middle son
serious
had a
right
very
now,
bad
bro?
ex-girlfriend.
You stay there and I come to you, okay?
She cheated on him several times.
Okay.
Oh,
My
no,
son
I'm in the
never left
wrong
because he
place.
loved her,
My
but eventually he
bad.
realized she was a bad woman and left her. It only took 8 years.
I'm coming.
Anyway, my oldest got married at 29, and my youngest is engaged. They give my middle son a lot of grief because he is single, but I always say that his ex messed up his sense of
That's
love
unfair.
and confidence. They don't understand what he went through.
Okay, so I'm right here, you stay right there, okay? You little cheater! You don't understand the
I was
rules!
happy to hear that he found someone.
Oh well.
She is very educated and smart, according to him.
I'm gonna
They have
murder
similar
you so
personalities
badly,
and
you're gonna be
interests.
whimpering.
Considering my
Should've
middle son
stood
is
right
kind of a
there.
nerd, that made me very happy to hear. Anyway,
Murder me.
I wanted to meet her immediately. My son said that she was very shy and it would take her time.
What?
6 months later,
You told me to murder you!
so Friday afternoon, my husband decided to grill. Everyone came over. Then my son and his new girlfriend showed up. This beautiful girl walks in holding his hand and standing behind him. I immediately noticed
Ah,
that
blah, 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 blah.
she was very shy. We all introduced ourselves to his girlfriend, Sadie. Sadie was quiet but said hi to everyone. During the barbecue,
Hello
she
there!
went out and helped their dad cook. My daughter-in-law they went out together. I asked if Sadie would like to help me finish the sides and chop some stuff. She said sure. I just asked how they met and had a typical conversation. Eventually, my middle son comes in, goes up behind her, and pokes her booty. She
Whoa!
and hits him on the arm. He grabs her, picks her up as they laugh. I tell him to put her down, not to be so rough on her. My son
That's
just
not
says,
fair. I have a
"Sit down,"
revolver.
and goes back out. I tell her, sorry, 3 boys. Sometimes they are a little too rough, but he is harmless. She says, I know he is. I used to wrestle with my dad and brother growing
That's
up.
unfair.
Whoa,
No,
what do you
that's
mean you used to
unfair.
wrestle them?
Wrestle her older brother and dad?
That's actually
She
unfair.
says, well, I used to be a boy, so I guess it was different in giggles.
Huh?
Couples, what beautiful moment made you think, I'm glad I married you. I told my husband about my son's
You used to
girlfriend.
be a boy.
His reaction shocked me. I have 3
Bro,
friends.
what?
I froze. What? I asked her.
Bro, she said that she used to be a man, Jaden. How do we both miss a lot of shots?
He didn't tell you, she asks. I tell her no. She says, I think I should leave. I am sorry. I grabbed her and said, no, stay here.
Bro!
Asked her if my son knew. She says yes, he knows. She then says, I always bring it up on the first date so if there are issues, we don't waste each other's time. To be honest, I was very surprised, but my son has never been so happy, so I dropped it. I honestly honestly just couldn't believe it.
Excuse
We
me?
never know. She is gorgeous.
Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling.
And as long as you treat him right, I don't care.
You got off scene?
I called my son soon after because his dad wanted
Yeah.
to dinner with them. He said sure.
My dad did something
I brought up our conversation,
stupid.
and he said he knows. He said that she is just really shy about it and doesn't talk
You
about
mean
it.
he, not a she? That's not a she, buddy. That's a he.
He then asked if I could tell my
You
husband
married a
before dinner
he.
the following day. I agreed but was nervous about how my husband would react. The next day, I told my husband at noon he needed to
Frick!
pick up my son, Sam, and Sadie at 6.
Frick!
The conversation
No!
was very quick. I just told him I needed to tell him something and he had to promise me not to be upset. He just said, speak. I told him that
Orf,
Sadie is
orf, 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 orf,
I'm
orf.
okay. We will talk later. I said something about dinner, and he just repeated that we would talk
Stupid.
later. I told Sam and told him I have his back. On the drive to Sam's place, I told my husband that Sam loves her and she makes him
Where you at,
happy.
buddy?
I explained it took a lot of courage from Sadie to be open with us right from the beginning.
Excuse
My
me?
husband just said, we will talk later. I promise I will be on my best behavior. Then we continued on our way to pick them up. It was a nice restaurant, so my husband and Sam were in polos and dress pants. Sadie and I were in dresses. They looked so cute together when I saw them. They were matching in everything. We went to dinner, and my husband was acting normal. He was asking
I'm in the
questions to
bedroom.
Sam and Sadie about intentions, how they met,
Okay.
and so on.
I'm
I'm
coming.
in one in the bedroom.
With my
Come and
husband.
find
I'm
me.
He just
coming.
said, hold that thought. That's when my husband revealed that he and Sadie got together. I froze. What? I asked her.
This
No,
thing,
you
I'm
liar!
outside.
And immediate tears rolled down her face.
I still kill you.
I tell her no. She says, I think I should leave. I am sorry. I grabbed her and said, no, stay here. I asked her if my son knew. She says yes, he knows. She then says, I always bring it up on the first date so if there are issues, we don't waste
Bro, we
each
already
other's
watched
time.
it.
To be honest,
I know.
What's the most legendary work meltdown you've seen? So, this guy at my work
Hey, I got the alien gun that you don't like that much.
was on call 24 hours. Had 2 hours of commuting.
And I still
Bruh.
killed you. I killed you with the alien gun that you don't like.
His first birthday because of work. Dude was on the edge.
Wait, did he
Enter
say
Sally.
Jesus?
Sally was in charge of invoicing and had spent the whole
I'm
previous
just
week on
waiting.
vacation spending time
Bro, you keep dying. You ain't Jesus, I'm God.
some billing, but was taking the rest of the week off for more vacation. She approached Jake while he was in the middle of working out some major issues, saying he needed to get some things for her to finish billing. Jake
Bro,
told her
how
he
the
would
hell?
get to it as soon as he called. Sally continued to ask again every 10 minutes, getting more irritated with each request. Finally, she enters Jake's office, big open area shared with coworker mentioned above, and nastily says, it'd be real nice to keep you a job so I can go home and see my family. Jake proceeded to kick the door open behind him, breaking the frame and the automatic closer. At the end of the hall, he kicked another door open, putting a hole in the wall behind it. He then went to the equipment storage area and began throwing pieces of metal rigging, making a ton of noise.
You sure about that?
Of others who came to check out what was going on. When someone asked what was going on, Jake said, if that bitch says one more word to me, I'll be leaving in the back of a cop car.
Damn.
Sally was gone by the time Jake calmed down enough to go back inside. Jake wasn't fired or even written up. Management knew he was under stress, and Sally was told to keep her distance. Also, Jake is me. My blood pressure was so high my vision was blurry. What's the most legendary work meltdown you've seen?
So Jake is him and he told them off.
Way someone asked for help when they couldn't explicitly say it. This is how an operator understood my creative way of asking for help. When I was about 14, I had one of those slide phones. This was around 2008. My brother was having an angry fit and he broke a window.
Bro, what?
My dad, who was abusive, came into the kitchen and found the broken glass. He flipped. My dad was yelling and screaming. Then he started beating my brother with his fists. I called 911 and I was
Beat
silent
him.
and he came over and slid my phone off, disconnecting the call. Edit, as I said in a comment, I don't think he knew it was the 911. He just turned his head and saw me on my phone crying. I was terrified. There was my dad, now next to me, breathing heavily. It was so silent. I was terrified. He walks away to go back.
Where are you, Jane?
My brother's on the floor in front of me.
Up your butt and
My
on
cell
the
phone
phone,
vibrates. The police operator calls back. I know my dad wouldn't be long and I was right. He came back just as the lady on the phone asked if everything was okay, saying that there was a disconnect from this number.
No, you're not.
I pretended the operator, were a friend looking for our mutual friend's house or something. I don't remember. I told them that they had the wrong address. I said it was 121, street name, they were looking for, not my address, 122, same street name. The lady seemed confused for a moment, because there was a pause, then asked if I needed help.
Bro!
I said yes.
This
It's
game
just
is
across the
literally
street from
unfair.
121, street. Can't miss it. No problem, Alyssa. I'll see you at school tomorrow. Then hung up. The police arrived 5 minutes later. 2 cars, 4 police. My dad tried to play it off, but the police came in and took us outside to talk because my dad was looming over us. 911 operators. What's the most creative way someone asked for help when they couldn't explicitly say it?
Wow.
The operator understood my creative way of asking for help. When I was about 14, I had one of those slide phones. This was around 2008.
Get out.
Frickity dickity, finally you killed me.
I won't say my real name.
Shut up.
Jaden.
16, and I always go down to this bank to take money out. I only had a savings
So we're cheating now?
ATM card at the time.
I spawned right behind
She'd
you.
always smile and greet me, and I'd always try to go to her line. As she was a bank teller, I only saw her sitting down. This is important
Bruh.
later.
Just so you know, she's crippled. The
This
person
is also
he's talking
important since it's
about.
all I can look at when I talk to her. One day, I work up all the confidence to ask her out. I make sure I'm flexing my money so she knows I got motion. She laughed and said yes. So we set up a time around the weekend for me to come over and pick her up. She gives me her number.
Where
I get
are
her
you,
address, And I
Jaden?
skip home as happy as can be.
I saw you.
So it's the
You
weekend,
did?
and I drive up to her
Are you
house in my
lying?
little beat-up Honda. I
No.
knock on her door and her dad
I
answers.
see you.
A split second of holy moly comes over me, but he just gives me this heartwarming smile and invites me into his house. I instantly feel at ease and we go sit down in the living room. Her dad is all
I'm getting
happy
close to
and so happy
30.
taking my daughter out, and I really appreciate
up.
it in all this craziness. She can be a handful. So I'm starting to think to myself, oh, what have I gotten myself into? So her dad reaches into his pocket and pulls out a set of car keys.
It's giving me trash guns,
"I want
bro.
to take my car." I said,
Yeah, it gives me those same exact guns, but I'm leveling up unlike
Sure it
you.
does. Sure it does.
practically forcing
Yeah,
the
it
keys
gives
into
me
my
the
hand.
same exact guns,
Still
Jaden.
keeping his big smile on his face. No sooner does he give me the keys than I heard a loud buzz from the top of the stairs. Holy moly, she's in a wheelchair. A split second of shallow human being comes over me, but I think about it and say to myself, I can do this. Game is game and I have to see it through now. She's awesome and has a great personality.
He's running! Honey, it's hunting season, boys!
With the belts and harnesses, for the wheelchair. So I took his truck and we headed to the movie.
I'm gonna hang
The
ya!
best part is the handicap spot. We even beat an old lady to the only parking spot, and the best part was the girl looked at her and said womp as we took the parking spot.
Womp
So we're in
womp.
the theater and no sooner does the movie start, then she starts
it's
putting
tough.
her hands all over me. That's totally cool with
Hey,
me.
yo.
We started making out almost during the whole movie. It was
Hey,
black,
yo.
so it was even better. My parents were out of town that weekend, so I asked her if she wanted to come back to my place. She says yes, so we get back in her dad's truck and we're on the way to my house. We arrive at my house.
I'm not
I have
in
stairs,
here, bro.
So I have to carry her outside.
I'm outside. I don't know why you
Bro, I
don't.
saw your tail, bro.
Throw her, and we start
Sure.
going at it. When all of a sudden I hear a pop and her leg comes off. She's got a fake leg. How did I miss that?
Oh, holy Jesus.
However, this isn't enough to stop Ben 10, so I grabbed her leg and I chucked it out of my window while screaming to the trash bin and continued
out.
diving in that bitch. What's your darkest secret
Sit
you
down.
plan to take to the grave? I adopted my best friend's son because his entire family died in an accident. 15 years later, he proposed to my daughter, who he's raised since she was a baby. Back in 2000,
Oh, Jesus!
his family died tragically in a car accident, and only their 16-year-old son survived. My wife and I took him into our home for over 4 years while he finished school, and he was able to stand
Do it
on his
again.
own. I saw him as one of my children, and I was so proud of what he was able to accomplish. Wayne won,
Damn.
and I gave him a monetary donation
No,
for
you
him to
didn't,
start his
bro.
own business. It quickly became wildly successful. He's now 36 and has grown into a fine young man. That was until we learned the truth this past Sunday at a family dinner. There, my 21-year-old
Fun young
entire
man.
family that she was engaged to him. In fact, they'd been dating for the past 3 years. She delivered the news so happily, and clapped when she revealed the news, clearly expecting us to get up and congratulate her. But we all felt incredibly betrayed and blindsided. The amount of lies and secret keeping they had to be telling to keep this relationship from us is astonishing. Not only is the large age difference very disturbing to us, but they were raised
21 versus 30, it's like a 9-year age gap.
and I knew I had lost my appetite. I told them both that I did not approve of their relationship and he was no
You did
longer
not
allowed in
snipe.
my
You
home.
didn't have a sniper.
As long as my daughter continued this relationship, she was also disowned. Alienating my daughter would probably cause more harm, but I don't want her to think that I accept their relationship by treating her like nothing's wrong. She's definitely the victim in all this, and I want to be there for her, but she's not happy about it.
Frick you, buddy.
I told
Leave
her I
this
wanted
house.
this relationship to end immediately because I am disgusted and angered. This man, who I thought was my son, had been preying on my young daughter for God knows how long. He helped raise her for God's sake. He babysat her, changed her diapers, came to family dinners every week, went on family vacations, etc. He may not have been biologically mine, but he was raised as such, and it should have let him know that my daughter is off limits. He was a constant part of my life.
Baby.
There should be no reason why he chose my daughter of all the girls in the world to be with. My
She's
wife
probably
and I talked the
hot.
situation
That's
over, and we
why.
decided to go to our daughter's apartment. I first apologized to her over my initial reaction that came out of anger. I made it clear that her safety and well-being was my first concern. We had a long discussion, and there were some things that my daughter said that alarmed me, such as her loving him while she was 14 and he was 29 and them not doing anything intimate until she was 18, which meant that bastard was preying on. However, since their engagement has now become public, concerned family members have contacted me with events that seemed innocent at the time, but now seem suspicious. For example, my wife's sister told us about a time when our kids were at her house. My daughter was 16 and he was 31. I adopted my best friend's son because his entire family. She said she had heard him leaving my daughter's room in the morning. My son also told me that he had run into my 15-year-old daughter out with a bastard when she was supposed to be in school. I can't believe we never saw the signs. He had been grooming her for years. I feel sick knowing we willingly took a man and loved him like family because this is how he chooses to repay us by manipulating our underage daughter. I asked my daughter what she loved about him and she went on a tangent about how he's always been generous and caring to her because he would always give her extra things on special occasions like her birthday or holidays. She never thought this behavior was suspicious. Because he had told her the reason he was giving her extra gifts was because she was always overshadowed by her brothers, and